Welcome to Sweet Adeline's International Zoom Chats 2020. This afternoon, we're going to be talking with Paula Davis. And she's going to help us all understand the expression category. So how you doing, Paula?
I'm doing well, thanks. Great to be here.
Good. Thank you for agreeing to talk with us. So first, let's just get some background. Tell us how you started judging, when you started judging, how you picked the expression category.
Um, I started judging. I began my ACJ year in 1999, and so I've been judging, actually out judging, not quite 20 years, maybe about 16 years or something like that. Went into judging at the encouragement of Betty Clipman, and I needed to wait till my youngest son was at least in school, so it would be okay for mom to be gone for a weekend. And so once that happened, Betty called and say, "Oh, okay, are you ready to apply now?"
Fine.
And so I actually applied, and that's how it started. And the reason I chose expression is because I grew up in my Sweet Adeline career in Dale Syverson's Rich Tone Chorus, and learned from the best in the expression category. And I couldn't imagine falling in love with any category any more than I was in love with the
Do you,
expression category.
do you have a favorite part of the category?
Oh, well, of course, it's probably in the artistic lyrical interpretation side, but probably one of my favorites is characterization. I'm also pretty big into tempo and rhythms. They're very fun. I like those a lot.
You like
And
that?
the lyrical plan and the forward motion. Oh, it's the whole artistic stuff.
Yeah.
I like it all.
Okay. So the artistic elements. So for all of us that really, really want to understand the category, what is the crux of our expression category in our judging system?
Well, the crux of the expression category overall is the evaluation of the musical and lyrical interpretation and communication of that with the audience. So we need that interpretation, the musical and lyrical interpretation, to truly connect and communicate with the audience. So it's really all about how you communicate.
So I know that there are many artistic elements, which you already mentioned, but there also are some very technical aspects of the expression category. So can you help us understand how those technical aspects create that artistic experience for the audience?
Yes, the technical elements are kind of new. Our category was updated maybe 7, 8 years ago, I think. And we named that the technical elements. Now, why do we have that in the expression category? Mainly because those technical elements really do affect how well you can communicate it. Um, the level of expertise in your vocal skills will affect how the audience can hear it and how it will affect them. The unity that you give, which is that synchronization that is the next thing on the list, your unity strengthens your ability to communicate. The more unified you are, the more unified your message is to the audience, and they receive it better.
So what happens when synchronization is not an element that has been conquered by a group? What happens for the audience as you judge it?
Um, it gets confusing for the audience. Sometimes we can't discern all the words.
Um,
Sometimes the audience can't necessarily name what is wrong, although our audiences are very smart. But the general audiences can't always name what is wrong. They're just uncomfortable, and they know that something is not going right. That's when it's really out of sync. When there are just minor internal sync issues, they're they are just little things that take your mind away from the message. So if you hear a little sprinkling of
right.
it just takes you back to the technical instead of being wrapped up in the message that you're giving. Well, music and vocal skills really happens on the vowels. The chords are able to ring on the vowels. And we all, in order for that to happen, they all have to be said the same way. So um, if a group has different ways of saying the vowel, the chord won't ring. That's really the job of the music or sound judge. However, for me, I can hear the differences in how that vowel is being said. And so it disturbs the unity for me. So in the expression category, the consonants are kind of an exciting thing because I know sometimes we write as an expression judge that the consonants are getting in your way or overemphasis on the consonants are disturbing your musical line. However, they can also be extremely artistic in if they are done correctly. So if you have a very emphatic part of your song, you would deliver some of those consonants, just as I said, more emphatic. You would do some of those consonants because that's how we sound emphatic and we can make a difference. So consonants can be very artistic as well.
In your category, what are the things that influence your scoring the most?
I will say that as an expression judge, I feel like we have one of the greatest privileges in that because we're listening for how authentically they're telling their story and how they're reaching the audience. If we have a chorus that may be still working on developing their vocal skills, then we have the opportunity, if that chorus is up there and just so completely joyful or really authentic and sharing their character because they're having so much fun with it, we get to reward it as expression judges. So as an expression judge, my score might be a little higher. Now we still have that kind of similar bar across the judges of vocal skills, but my score may be the highest on the panel because I could feel and hear the joy or the character or whatever it was.
Excellent. So I know that the category focuses a lot on musicality. So help us understand if we got comments about musicality and we're looking to increase that. How can we take what we have on our score sheets and use that to improve our product in the area of musicality?
Musicality is a great question because it's not that easy to understand. If you look it up, it will say something like the art of being musical.
Right.
So, it doesn't really explain itself in the definition. The thing is, when you start listening for it, there's many elements to musicality. And in fact, even if you listen or watch some of the dance shows, the Dancing with the Stars, or So You Can Dance, or some of those dance competition shows, they will talk about the dancers having musicality
Right.
or being musical. So it's much more than just one explanation. The thing is, there are many factors that go into it. And one of our jobs as the expression judge is to help point the performer in the right direction. Like they may be getting certain elements really well, and here's the element that would most highlight and raise your musicality. So, maybe it's consistent breath support, or maybe it's a consistent airflow so that the musical line is supported to live. Or maybe it's the heart connection. Are you being authentic, or are you really focusing on the technical? Those kinds of things will affect your musicality, so they're hard to define.
Yeah.
But the way we respond to music is hard to define, really. So that's what being musical or having musicality means in our category. Yes, the expression judge is not looking. So when we talk about authenticity, what is it that we hear that indicates to us
Right.
that it is feeling authentic or it isn't? There are several things. One is certainly the audience reaction or communication. Sometimes you can feel it. The audience will begin to breathe with you, or you can feel them. You can feel their emotion and their connection to what a group is doing. There are some ways technically that we can hear it. When you hold a chord like you're holding a word, does it go somewhere? Is it alive? Is it leading us to the next emotion or the next thought? Because as humans, we're never just flat.
Right.
We don't just, oh, um, the music needs to live in the same way. So if it feels like a conversation or an interactive moment that lives and
Right.
breathes, so the way you take your breath will affect authenticity, because there's so many different kinds of ways that would indicate that. The way you say those consonants and those words, so that there's always life in the musical delivery. It never gets stagnant, it
Right.
lives. Every song that we sing has these core human emotions. If they weren't, we wouldn't write a song about it.
No.
If they were not important, we don't write songs about washing our clothes or ironing or washing dishes. We make them about these important life moments or important emotions. And when you, as a performer, allow yourself to go there and be vulnerable enough to experience that emotion, then it allows me as an audience member to embrace it and experience it myself as well. That's authentic.
Excellent. So, everybody has. You're talking about how songs are a reflection of life, and again, in a chorus, they're not in charge of choosing their songs. So I know that that's often a stumbling block when a member feels that they don't have the experience that is in that story. But the way you're describing it, the elements of the expression category give them a vehicle to be emotional as they sing, even if it isn't their personal story.
It's true. Songs sometimes that we choose to sing are not our personal story. We don't have any experience that way. Let's think about, some of those songs about I lost my love. Not everybody has that experience,
Right.
but the thing is, all of us have experienced loss in some way. So whether it is, someone has moved away from us, or we've lost uh, a gift that was very important to us, that meant a great deal to us. We've all experienced those core human emotions.
Right.
So that the extra pieces, the extra words, we need to focus on what it is we're trying to communicate, that core emotion. And usually inside that core emotion, there's always an equal and opposite. So if you're singing about love, you're going to also be singing about loss,
Right.
or the other way, or some other kind of challenging emotion. So that provides variety to the song, and it is real life.
Your category is really the heart of the lyrics and the notes coming together and having that message transcend.
Absolutely. Expression is the heart of what we do. Um, it provides a way for us to share ourselves and to be human with each other, and to really find more and more effective ways to do that. Sometimes it informs us in our real life about how we can better um, communicate. But I do want to underline that now is a great time in our Zoom rehearsals to actually capitalize on this, because you have an opportunity, because we can't hear each other really in the singing.
Right.
We can take some time to really talk together and listen to each other about what the song is about. What is that core emotion? What is the message that we're trying to convey? And how can we best do that? And actually, just sharing some of our stories brings us closer together, and it makes that story more meaningful because you realize the breadth of the message. So, Zoom is a great opportunity now to explore the expression category.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Paula. We really appreciate it. And
My pleasure.
we're going to take all of those pieces of your category to heart and continue working to be better singers.
Great. It's been my pleasure. Thank you.